So you want to start your own business, but how should you price your products and services?
Let's find out.
Hello, I'm your host Kaycinho. I'm a digital alchemist, and this episode is episode number 2 of a module dedicated to the action phase of starting your business. So if you haven't seen the first episode, I invite you to check the link in the description below. And by the way, this module is the 4th module of a course dedicated to take you from the burning desire to become your own boss to actually launching your business. So you will also find a link to the full course playlist in the description below. Now, before we start, I'd like to stress that I am not a financial advisor. What I'm sharing with you here today is based on my experience and my research. But what you should do once you're ready to move is to check with a local financial advisor or a local accountant or any other professional entitled to give you legal financial advice. Now, with that out of the way, this episode comes as a follow-up to the previous episode, which was about strategic products and services. And as mentioned in our previous episode, in the timeline, I could have placed this episode earlier in the course, but the truth is that it really depends on your specific project, and most likely this is a process that goes on throughout the time span from decision to launch. So I thought that placing this episode just before the actual launch would come as a handy reminder. And if you've read the resources I recommend, such as the $100 Startup by Chris Guillebeau and the One-Page Marketing Plan by Alan Dibb, you should already have a solid plan about your products and services. And yes, the links are in the description below. However, in this episode, we're going to look at my very own subjective experience regarding the topic, and following up on our previous episode, we'll build on the same examples that we developed in it.
Let's dive in.
So let's imagine that you want to sell online courses that focus on how to do online marketing for law firms. So how would you price that? Well, first of all, it depends if you want to sell your courses on existing marketplaces or on your own website. Selling products on existing marketplaces. Well, first scenario, in case you create online courses and you want to sell on marketplaces, you will encounter different rules depending on the platform. On some marketplaces, prices are either fixed or must remain between a certain range, like on the Udemy marketplace. On other marketplaces though, you set your own prices, but what I would do is a market research to estimate the amount at which similar products are priced and either align or make your products better and more premium so that you can price it higher. So make sure you carefully read the marketplace's terms and conditions, and also make sure that there is some consistency in your pricing. You don't want to sell your course at $59 on Marketplace A and at $99 on Marketplace B, because first of all, that would make no sense. And second, customers from Marketplace B will not be happy when they find out that they paid an extra $40 out of thin air. Selling products on your website. The second scenario is you want to sell from your own shop, maybe using WordPress and WooCommerce or a third-party solution. It means that you are free to set your own prices and control the user experience, but you won't benefit from the qualified traffic found on marketplaces. So it means that you must have a marketing budget to get the word out there, otherwise nobody will ever hear about your course. So what I would do is to assess the market prices and either align or make your products better and more premium so that you can price it higher. Now, let's talk about pricing services. Well, first of all, giving you one universal pricing is impossible because depending on where you live and what your local expenses are, whether or not you already have an audience, figures will be completely different. What I can give you though is the logic and pattern that you can apply to yourself. And to achieve that, I'm going to take very simplistic examples and numbers, and your job will be to apply the same logic to your own situation. So let's build on our example from the previous episode where you are a freelancer selling website creation services with a focus on law firms. But first, let's make a few assumptions. Let's say that to be comfortable, you need to make $2,000. Okay, I know that for some of the viewers, $2,000 is not what they'd call comfortable, but once again, I'm picking easy round numbers here so that it's easier to understand. Now back to our example, I'm not talking about $2,000 of cash flow, I'm talking about $2,000 in your personal bank account after you've paid taxes. Next, let's say that these taxes amount for 50% of any amounts you make. With that logic, it means that to get $2,000 in your personal bank account, you need to make $4,000 a month to run the business. Next, you also need to take into account all the expenses that you have to make in order to run your business. For example, your cell phone subscription, bank account monthly fees, your car lease, electricity, internet subscription, your accountant, and so on. And let's say that this amounts to $500 per month. I know it's a very small number here, but once again, just to make things easy. So in order to run the business and get a salary of $2,000 in your personal bank account, you have to make minimum $4,500 a month in your business bank account. Next, let's assume that you are available for work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 4 weeks per month, so a grand total of 160 hours monthly. Now, let's also assume that you get client work 50% of the time, thus filling 80 hours monthly. Now, to be honest, this depends on how well you advertise yourself, the market in your location, and the state of your competition. It could be as low as 30% of your time, or even less, or as much as 100% of your time, and even more. But once again, for the sake of this video, let's keep things simple. So out of 160 hours monthly, let's say that you work 80 hours on client work, and the remaining 80 hours are spent on administrative tasks, research and development, and of course, lead generation. A word of caution about low prices. I've already talked about it previously, but I see a lot of newcomers trying to market themselves as cheaper than everyone else. Now, I wouldn't advise that because this race to the bottom cannot allow you to make real profits unless you work 320 hours instead of 160. Now, once again, the way I put it may sound too simplistic, but I just want you to grasp the concept here. Also, the race to the bottom is a race that never ends, and that only works when you have a lot of customers along with very minimal costs. Now, although there are exceptions, most of the time it means low quality or some form of quality compromise. So while I do not judge this strategy, which can work wonders for low-cost airlines, for example, I don't think that this strategy is good for very small businesses. Because even if you would go as low as your lowest competitor in your country of residence, you could never go as low as some of your online competitors in countries where the cost of life is significantly lower. And I'm saying this because you may be faced with competitors that are 10 times lower than you at one point. So I don't think that this is a smart strategy for a one-man operation type of company. Now, unless you are already rich and can afford to work for free 24/7, then you need to at least set your rate so that your business makes a profit that allows you to run your business and pay your bills. But if it was just about paying bills, that wouldn't be that exciting, would it? Now, bear in mind that the simple math we did to calculate your initial rate is just a starting point. Now, let's talk about pricing based on hourly rate. So how do you calculate a rate based on these assumptions? Well, there are many ways, but here's the one that you could start with. Although you will work 160 hours per month in our example, only 80 hours are actually billable to your clients. So if we do a simple math, we take the amount that you have to make monthly, so in our case, $4,500 divided by the number of billable hours. In our case, 80 hours. So we get an hourly rate of $56.25. So let's run it up to $60 so that we can make a little more profit, which will go towards our cash flow. Now, as you've probably understood by now, there are variables in this solution that can completely change the outcome. For example, what if you don't get 80 billable hours per month? Well, then you likely won't have enough to pay yourself the $2,000 that will make you comfortable. And what if in your country the taxes are higher? Or what if your fixed expenses are lower? Well, you've guessed it, you need to adjust your rate based on these variables, as well as on the prices in your market. So now you need to find gigs to fill in those hours. Pricing hourly is commonly used when just starting out, but there is, in my opinion, a much better alternative, and that is pricing based per project. Another way to price your services is to charge on a per project basis. This is a bit harder to assess when just starting out, but the more experience you gain, the better you will become at that. With our previous assumptions in mind, instead of just negotiating hours with your clients, you would quote them a final price for the whole project. But in reality, the whole project would be quoted on the number of hours that you estimate the project will take. Now, my advice is that you write very detailed estimates so that even if you charge per project, the estimate is detailed enough so that you don't get taken advantage of. You should mention which task you will do and the maximum amount of hours dedicated to each task. If you don't, you may end up working countless hours with endless back and forth discussions and a lot of stress. It's your call, but I'm saying this out of experience. Now, the great thing about charging on a per project basis is that, for example, if you can do in 40 hours a project that was quoted with 80 hours in mind, then you've made yourself a nice profit, and you still have 40 hours that you can dedicate to something else. So the better you become at quoting and assessing the resources needed to complete a project, the more profit you will make. Now, bear in mind that some months your business will skyrocket through the roof and make a lot of money, while others you will barely make some. So you need to take that into consideration when defining your pricing strategy. But if you're honest, as long as you bring value and return on investment to your customers, they will be happy. Now let's talk about pricing based on return on investment. Well, this is a tough one, especially when just starting out, but probably the most profitable method of all. This method of pricing your services is based on the value that you provide. So you could charge a percentage of the profit that would be the consequence of hiring you. So let's say that the service you provide for your client brings them an extra $200,000 in revenue, well, you could easily charge $20,000 or more. In this method, the clients that will make your business run are looking for professionals that can give them a great return on investment. So if you master your craft and are conversion focused, they'll happily pay for your services, even though your competition is many
times cheaper.
Now, depending on your situation and very important, your skills level, your experience, and other factors like the fact that you are an influencer, for example, you may ask a lot more for doing the same work. Now, just imagine that a big law firm wants to have its website redesigned from the ground up. Now, if you're just starting your business and have limited experience, you will likely have to stay within the market price if you want a chance to get the gig. But now, second scenario, let's say that even though you're starting your business, you already have a lot of experience working for an award-winning agency, and on top of that, let's say that you are a big-time influencer on social media when it comes to online marketing for law firms. You may get away with 5 times, 10 times, or even more the market price and get the gig. Now, do you get the idea? And to give you a real-life example, a long time ago, I've worked for an airline, and they outsourced their website redesign to a famous digital agency. The agency charged 250,000 euros for the redesign, and we're not even talking about the booking engine, we're just talking about the front-end pages. Now, bear in mind that that was 10 years ago, so the 250,000 euros of then would be worth even more today. Okay, it was a huge website, but still, some agencies pitched the airline for a lot less than that. But the top agency was selected because the stakeholders of the airline wanted the best for their business. Now, when you need a doctor or when you need a lawyer, do you look for the cheapest out there, or would you rather have the best one?
That's what I thought.
So the best you become at your craft and the more visible you become, the more you can charge. Now, as mentioned before, I think that real-life examples are better than theory, and this is why I came up with this specific angle, but you could also apply the same principles to your own industry. So, which pricing method will you choose? Let me know in the comments, and by the way, you'll find the companion blog article with all the links on my website, Kaycinho.com, so I've put a direct link in the description of this video. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up as it really helps growing this channel, and if you know someone that could benefit from it, please share it now. And if you want to brand, market, and grow your business in the digital age, then make sure you subscribe and smash the notification bell so that you never miss a share of digital alchemy. And by the way, if you're interested in tips, tools, services, and case studies that can help you grow your business online, then go to Kaycinho.com/newsletter and subscribe to my email newsletter. So that's it for this episode, and in the next one, we'll discuss about whether or not you're ready to launch, and in the meantime, don't forget to invest
In your success.